2023. It's 7:33 p.m. Let's do a roll call. Director Decker. Here. Director Slater-Carter.
Present.
Director Slofsky. Here. Director Young.
Present.
And Director Boyd is present. So all here. For President's Statement, let me just mention that on September 9th in the morning, we're going to be celebrating District's 65th anniversary. Yes?
Correction, we will celebrate the 65th anniversary at 1 p.m. Here in front of the district offices. However, we offer system tours in the morning. So anyone who's interested in doing that, please go on our website and sign up for the, we have 3 tours, system tours that we offer in the morning. And then we have a celebration in the afternoon.
Terrific. Thank you for the clarification. I saw the thing for the tours and I missed the bit about the event at 1. So
can I sign up for a tour right now and not have to go online?
we kind of expect you to be here.
How many people are signed up so far, Clemens?
I can't tell you right now.
All right, that's okay.
Okay, so all right, so we're celebrating this. It's living out on the coast side and having the Board of Supervisors as our city council. It's often fallen to the folks of this district to try to represent members of the coast side on various matters of local interest, and it's just been a pleasure and a delight for many of us to serve. But we get to celebrate now because we have always seen this as a community agency run by the local community for the local community. And often it's really kind of our civic home here on the coast side for Montara and Moss Beach. So we look forward to seeing many of you in person on the 9th. Celebration at 1, tours in the morning. Go to our website and sign up for the tours. You'll enjoy the tours, I'm sure. They're always very interesting.
And to Bill's comment to sign up, we actually have something planned that we haven't shared with the board yet, at least with the new board members. The folks that were present when we actually planned the system tours 3 years ago probably don't remember this either, but we actually would like your involvement in the system tours, of course, also in the celebration. But we're looking for board members to be stationed here to greet folks that are, arriving to and waiting for the system tour. We also would like someone up at the Alta Vista plant so that somebody from the board is present when we're talking up at the plant. So there will be a schedule of some sorts put together where we ask the board members to participate in the morning. There's obviously still opportunity to participate in the system tour and get a ride.
And is the system tour going to be kid friendly, or do you recommend adults only? Or?
I think this is probably. I mean, the afternoon event is kids friendly, and anyone who wants to bring somebody in the morning, please do. But I think it's going to be much more on the technical side.
I see. And it's only Alta Vista, or is there other stops on the tour?
No, we have a system.
I know.
We will. The Alta Vista is essentially the main stop because there's a lot to see, but we will also mention and drive by other facilities.
Okay.
All right. Well, that was a little more interactive of a president's statement than usual, but we are celebrating and it is a team. So
Sorry.
Make plans on the 9th of September. Join us for the celebration at 1 and get in on one of the tours by going to our website, MWSD.montara.org, and sign up. And big thanks to many people who've worked on this, but Sid, I know especially you've put a lot of time into preparing for the celebration, and Clemens and the team here at the district. A lot of people participating in that, and we've had good celebrations before, and I expect this to be one of the really good ones. 65 years. That's
Reason to celebrate.
Reason to celebrate. All right. Do we have any oral comments for items that are not on the agenda? I'm looking and I see a hand from the public.
And over there.
And over here and over here. Let's go first to Greg, and then we'll work our way around the room.
Thanks, Scott. So I really want to see the district make it to 100 years, which is why I'm making this comment. I previously have commented on what I call a $10 million mistake that was looming by not having connection fees that were reflective of the cost of the asset foundation underneath the district. I just heard today there's a hotel in Montara that we're being asked to review and approve by September 1st. You're probably aware the Cypress Point EIR has come up for review. That I believe is due on September 25th. And then, of course, we have various number of connections estimated at Big Wave. But I understated that $10 million because if you consider the asset replenishment fees required, for example, on the $1 million of pipes that were donated to the district last year, at 3.5% inflation in 40 years, that's a $4 million replenishment cost, and you need to accumulate reserves to be ready for those, or else you'll be borrowing, which digs the hole even deeper. I've taken a look at AB 1600, as was mentioned previously, and I find there are plenty of precedents in other districts for charging based on the difficulty of service, the distance from the plant, and so forth. I do see that asset foundation is a permissible expense, but I'm not a lawyer. So what I request is that the board commission Christine, hi Christine, to take a look at the case law and precedent on this matter as a first step, and then you immediately take a look at your connection fees and your, I call them asset replenishment fees, because you should be charging something for people who are sole users of an extra piece of infrastructure. And there's several examples of that. I've mentioned one to Clemens, I won't mention it here. So that's my public comment, and I hope I can work with you all on doing the math. I've studied this for a while. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Greg. Let's go to our guest, Chris Porter.
Good evening. Just here to let you know that I have retired from Recology of the Coast effective June 2nd. And just wanted to say what a pleasure it's been working with all of you. Catherine, Scott, I see Jim on TV. Hi, Jim. Bob Potasic, wherever you are, who kept me honest all those years ago. Anyway, honestly, it's been my pleasure serving the district, and I feel that over the last close to 40 years, we have made big progress in our services in the district. We were one of the leaders as far as recycling on the coast side, and we still hold that as a company that takes most things that other companies don't take. We have the 4 times a year drop off. We have the recycling yard 3 days a week. We have a lot of different programs, shredding, compost, giveaway. So again, it's been my pleasure working with all of you, and wanted to bring my new, I said the new Chris.
Replacement.
Yes. Glenn Bonji, who's going to do just a wonderful job and is looking forward to working with all of you and bringing the company to bigger and better things.
Can I ask Chris a question?
Please.
In the past, when like neighbors have reported dumped things like old couches or whatever, people put, you've been pretty proactive about getting it out of there. Is your replacement going to be?
Absolutely.
Okay, I just wondered.
Absolutely.
If that was
absolutely
just the service you offered, or if we
no, that's a service for Recology off.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend calling Chris out of her retirement to come take care of a couch. We call Greg instead now.
Of course.
Chris, I didn't get to work with you on the district, but I think about 2.5 years ago, I had a 20-minute conversation with you because I had some question about why the pink stickers were showing up and what to do. And I remember getting a really wonderful understanding of all of the intricacies of what you have to do and how proud you were of hitting what being like the highest acceptance rate of recycling loads or something, some metric like that sounded important. But I remember it was a great conversation. I'm glad we do in person.
Thank you. Yes, we have our customers are very proactive regarding recycling. I mean, a lot of cities, they will just throw garbage and everything else in the recycling bin. That really doesn't happen here. If it does happen, the men will tag the cart, and then there'll be discussion about what's in the cart that shouldn't be there, and we'll go forward from there.
Mhm. So,
Well, thank you, Chris. Congratulations on your retirement. I think
Yeah.
some of us are still looking forward to that day for ourselves, but well earned, and you've served the community well. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Glenn, do you want to say?
Scott, can I, am I,
Before Chris leaves.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
No, he's up on the.
I just want to, Chris, I want to thank you for setting the bar super high on service to the community. You have always been extremely responsive to the board in our negotiations and in problems we've had, challenges we've had in Montara, Moss Beach. And your guys have been, are really great guys to have come and to work with. Their service is impeccable. We enjoy seeing them coming by the house. And I just want to thank you, Kathy and I, Kathy's here. We just want to thank you for your huge contribution to this district and everybody in the community. So thank you, Chris.
Thank you. I forgot one thing. I wanted to make sure to shout out to Clemens. He's been really wonderful to work with, always helpful. I thought we made a good team.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris. So I'd like to say I'm honored to be taking over for Chris at Recology of the Coast. My name is Glenn Bonji, and I've been in this business for 36 years. So I'm a rookie to Recology of the Coast, but I'm not a rookie in the industry. And it's difficult replacing a local legend like Chris.
I'll say.
It is very difficult because she has a huge legacy. But one thing I will commend Chris for is she left an amazing team at Recology of the Coast, drivers and managers, and we're here to serve the community. Any issues, feel free to give us a call. We have numerous people who are willing to help and numerous ways of helping out. So please, anything, give the office a call and we'll respond immediately. We'll help the community out because that's what we're about. So once again, thank you. And I'm humbled by being here and I'm looking forward to the adventures that lay ahead.
Well, thanks for joining us.
Welcome.
We're glad to meet you, and don't be shy, folks. Call if you need.
Yes, absolutely.
And just so you know, he brought tonight, Clemens, some of those fold up disposable, or maybe they're reusable, I'm not sure, trash containers for our special event in September. I think they're outside, but maybe we should pull them inside.
Okay, so let's see. We still have, both of you had something to say. Bill, I know you had something.
I need a couple minutes.
Thank you, Chris.
So go ahead.
I just, what I had my hand.
I'm waiting for other things to talk.
I thought that, I thought you needed time to collect your thoughts.
So in general, I just sort of realized today that the long-term structural issues we know are always the most important, but they're always the farthest away from current business. So I intend to put my couple minutes worth of long-term insights at the beginning of meetings, because that's where it makes the most difference and doesn't distract from the agenda. Today can be an example. My particular goal in general is keep Montara magical. And one of the reasons it is magical is that the epitome of what the coast side has, not only in nature and agriculture, but in community. Montara is kind of a party town, and I like that, and we like being around each other. So that's the premise of pretty much everything I'm ever going to say, except that my personal expertise is the complement of community, which is communication. I have read Nature's Cursive and Shannon's Laws, and I understand how communication works pretty much among all technologies and organisms. And that's the insight I can bring. I'm not a water expert any more than I am a physicist, but I do know communication like nobody else. And so that's going to probably be my theme most of the time. And so I'm interested in long-term improvements in communication. And I have a specific proposal for today. We can try it out, or we can not try it out. The easiest way is to try it out, because then I don't have to explain it. But if somebody really doesn't think it's possible, then we can go into however many minutes it takes for me to give all the reasons why it's a good idea. And that would be time consuming and maybe annoying. So
And not on the agenda. And not.
Well, this is about the agenda. The whole thanks for reminding me. So the whole purpose of this is that this particular meeting about looking at maps and making decisions about maps and understanding which aspects matter most, that process involves a lot of 3D interaction among people over 3D maps. It's the only way it can work is people pointing fingers at maps and looking over each other's shoulders. That's how it's done. And so that's why I propose that as an experiment for this meeting, we put away our laptops.
I didn't print the agenda, so I'm gonna.
I didn't either.
Mine on.
I didn't either.
Okay. I'm gonna leave.
But how about,
Okay.
or we could print them out, or we could write it down, which items are which. But we don't need the entire text of the agenda on the laptop all the time. And if someone's eyes are on the laptop, they are not on me or whoever is speaking. That's my point. Good point. Thank you.
Chris, Sid?
I thought the reason the district got every director a laptop was to save paper, so. I'm still gonna use mine to read it.
Actually, all right.
Wait, no,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, she has the floor.
Okay, all right.
No,
Support
I'm just commenting on his, I was just gonna say that I was driving down Highway 1 and I noticed that there's some story poles up at the property on the west side of the highway that looks as though it was the rumored to be Mark Zuckerberg residence, and I don't know if we got any kind of a thing about that. And same thing with the Greg mentioned our the
hotel.
Mid-Penn. Are we already connected with the EIR?
I saw that Zuckerberg construction of a home in the
Still talking
newspaper.
about my thing.
But was it,
It was a
does not
publication.
have to come to us? That's what I wanted to know.
It doesn't have to come to us, I don't think.
Okay,
So all construction activity that affects water and sewer is coming to us and is we're working together with Sanitary County on this, yes.
okay. So you got the EIR, and will we need to
Yes.
discuss it or report back before the deadline?
Well, we'll have to put a comment letter on when we just got the EIR.
Right.
But we're looking to put comments together at this point.
Okay, I think they've already added
We're
it.
commenting, I'm going to be specific, we're commenting on water and sewer.
Right,
Only.
Only.
Okay.
so.
And that's what the advertisement in the newspaper was for, to announce to the public overall that this is the plan to go and build a house. And consequently for people to give their comment.
Okay,
so-
so you're making an inquiry, you're getting some information, but we're in the public comment
And I
phase.
was gonna say that there is also gonna be a meeting at Ray's office about the Mid-Penn EIR. I don't have the date in front of me, but it's coming down the road. I'll email to you so you can let the
And
rest of the
we,
board
of
know.
course, will only comment if there is
Yeah.
something to comment.
Okay,
I was in the middle of making a proposal. Sid had an objection about one piece, which I
I'm
wanted to
sorry.
respond to. But as far as I'm concerned, we're still talking about laptops. And I was going to point out,
I'm sorry. First off, public comment is not a place for cross communication and discussion. So for everybody, someone's speaking their public comment, let's let them speak. We may ask for a point of clarification or may answer a question, but let's keep it to public comment. And I'm sorry, I misconstrued.
Okay.
I was looking at you. I thought I perceived by looking at you that you were complete. And so why don't you go
what I
ahead and
had,
finish?
my point was that this is something which it would be very simple to do, let's just do it. But it might take a couple more minutes of my public comment to explain why to do it if somebody really wants an explanation. Sid has already indicated that saving paper is a thing, but I would say that's a false economy. Our time here and our attention here is so much more important than 3 pennies worth of paper which take up a cubic micron of landfill. What matters here is our attention and our brains, and any digital device we are paying attention to disrupts our ability to communicate as 3-dimensional human beings. And those are just part of the facts I'm bringing to the table. So that said, That's why I would like us to close our laptops as much as physically possible. I would be happy to hand copy an agenda for anyone so that they can not have to look at their laptop and must pay attention to us. That is my proposal, and now I'm done talking.
Okay, I'm going to offer a quick comment. This is a tool. I'm very skilled in using this tool, and I intend to continue using the tool. And in the past, when I've had people raise concerns that I wasn't paying attention to them, I read back to them from my notes that I was taking on the things that they were saying. Because this is a way that I retain and engage with what people are saying. So this is a very common tool for me. So I hear what you're saying. I'll give it some consideration, but I have
All right.
a job to do, and this is how I engage in the job.
I'd like to see this as an agenda item. I think that there's some important information that I think we can't discuss during a public comment. I
Yeah.
think there are many points of view. And so I think that when we do it as an agenda item, we can maybe put a time limit on it because these can take master's degrees, doctorates, postdocs have been written about all of this stuff. But I think it's important for us, because tonight we're making a decision that will be having profound consequences for this board. And we're going to be looking at new concepts as we go along as a result of this change. And so I think it's important to be open to ideas. And so I'll just leave it at that. I know I'll just leave it at that and say thank you for bringing it up.
Thank you. If it's a proposal, I second it.
No, it's an
This is
agenda.
okay. Look, seriously, I really want everyone to understand. Public comment is for public comment. This is not a place for discussion of items that belong on the agenda as items. So, you know, I made a statement. You made a statement. If we don't have any more public comment, looking around, let's go on into the first item on the agenda under public hearing. Review and possible action concerning establishing division-based elections system, approving final map of electoral divisions, and setting the sequence of division elections. Comments?
Thank you, Scott. So we've been at this for months. Since several months, we have held public hearings looking essentially at various district maps and getting public input. So this is really the sixth public hearing, the sixth and last public hearing to complete this process. And at the last public hearing, the board directed staff and the consultant to come up with came up with the draft map D2B that we're actually considering today. Let me share the screen. 1 second. One second, I've got to find this here. Sure, there it is. Okay. So let's take a look at the there we go. Here's the draft map D2B that the board and staff together worked on at the last public hearing. And so what we're looking at here, in addition to the selection of the draft maps, we'll also need to determine an election sequence for the directors to be elected within the districts. And that's at different times for the next two election cycles. That's 2024 and 2026. real briefly here, so this is really what we looked at, the criteria that we adhere to, the bullet points while we were drafting these maps. There's some points that are important. For example, looking at the total deviation can't be over 10%. We have here a deviation with this map of 9.7%. So the election sequence, the suggested election sequence is even numbered districts will be scheduled for 2024, odd numbered districts scheduled for 2026. We have in 2024, Director Boyd and Director Slater Carter's 4-year terms ending, as well as Director Young's appointed 2-year term. That's due to the fact that she filled the first half of Director Lohman's 4-year term following his passing. So that means 2 director seats will be elected by division, each for a 4-year term, and 1 director seat will be elected at large. And that's to fulfill Director Lohman's remaining 2-year term. So we're showing here one more time. This is election 2024. So that would be the green colored District 2 and the purple colored District 4. In 2026, the odd numbered districts 1, 3, and 5 would be, the terms would be filled for those. And in 2026, Director Softke and Director Decker's 4-year terms will end, as well as the director who is elected for in 2024 to fill Director Young or Lohman's seat. So ultimately, our staff recommendation is to open the public hearing, to hear relevant testimony, close the public hearing, and then adopt the resolution of the Board of Directors of the Montara Water and Sanitary District, providing for the election of directors by division and establishing the boundaries and identification number of each electoral division and establishing the order of election for each division.
Okay, thank you, Clemens. Bill, just are you asking for can I please? Are you asking for a clarification or do you want to offer comment?
Before we open the public hearing, there's a thing to talk about.
And I have a question
For
for clarification.
All right, that's not how a public hearing goes. Public hearing goes, we open the public hearing and we hear the relevant testimony from the public, and then we close the public hearing and then we go to board discussion.
But we don't have a map to look at yet.
Oh, it's on the laptop.
I've been asking for months for paper maps, or at the very least, a big fat thing on the screen where we can read
We
the
got that
address.
we got that last meeting. Isn't that?
That's not a map with the colors on it in the new districts. We're paying all this money for them to make fancy color maps and we're not allowed to look at them.
Mine. It's fine.
So Bill, I have here up and can share the map that was sent out that is also online. That is the tool to use, or one of the tools
Well, all right.
that was shared. It was shared with you. So let me know which section you want to look at. I have it up on screen right now.
Like you said, your laptop has saved me, but I've been asking for paper for a long time and no one said it was impossible.
Can I ask my
All right.
clarifying question?
Yes, if it's short.
I got a little confused. You said that you were going to start doing the district map with the even numbered ones one way and the odd ones on another year. But then you went into the fact about the unfilled seat, and Director Carter and Boyd were going to be up at the same time my partial seat would be up. Is that right? So those are not
Yes.
all even numbered. So I got a little confused.
It has to be up
districts-
because the term ends. When the
For-
term ends, it has to be up.
Okay, so the term ends at the end of 2024 and your terms are ending in 2024 as
That's
well,
correct.
but now we're going to district elections. And so that has nothing to do with the numbering at this point.
Well, the
That's where I got
numbering, the
confused.
numbering has to do with the district elections. What doesn't have to do with the district elections is whose term ends when. So what the suggestion here is to have the even numbered district up for the 2024 election and the odd numbered for the 2026.
Okay.
Now, the other topic is that Director Boyd and Director Slater-Carter's 4-year terms ends in 24. So does your 2-year term. Your 2-year term will essentially be full, so there's an election for that, and that election is at large. Okay, that seat is still an at-large seat. So that is an at-large seat that still needs to be filled for the remaining 2 years.
So if I get reelected in 2024, I'm gonna have another 2 years and then another election. Is that what you're saying?
Let's say, let's say this for the board discussion. I want to
Okay.
get to the public testimony,
Oh,
so.
I'm sorry. I
I-
thought we had to do it first. Thank you.
No,
No, we.
that's why I said it was short. Okay, I am opening the public hearing. I'm now looking to members of the public for any testimony that you might wish to offer. Clemens?
Yeah, we got a public comment from Bob Potasic. And I'm going to read this out. I'm unable to call into the 817 meeting and would appreciate if my statement on the districting can be at least entered into the record. Districting elections in large cities makes perfect sense. An area can be ensured of having a seat at the table. But in none of those cities does the area get to own the table, chairs, podium, and sound systems to gain control of the governmental board, which is what is going to happen in Montara and Moss Beach. The forced districting is only coming about because some individuals in the community are not able to demonstrate to the voters that they will serve in the best interest of the entire community and not a selected group of individuals that have an agenda that is contrary to serving the entire community. Using prior election results, as I previously presented to the board, a district seat can be won with 11.6% of registered voters. 3 board seats control the MWSD board, which due to districting requirements can be secured by 34.8% of the voters. MWSD has diligently maintained the district infrastructure. The community indebted itself to acquire and control our water supply. It is no secret that our assets paid for by the community are a desired commodity outside of MWSD. The worst part of districting potential impact is, as the community is active and vocal about its assets, which has not always been well received by other local, county, or state agencies, the controlled MWSD board can take action for dissolution, merger, acquisition of the district and its assets, leaving the community to deal with service and funding being dictated outside of our community. Bob Potasic, Montara, California.
Thank you, Clemens. Do we have any additional public comment or testimony? Okay, I'm not seeing any hands, but I'm looking, if you're on camera, raise your hand or use the Zoom hand raise feature. All right, I'll keep an eye to it, but I'm gonna ask for a motion and a second to close the public hearing.
A motion, second.
Okay, so Peter has moved, Bill has seconded. All in favor of closing the public hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the public hearing is closed. Thank you. I'm gonna go around the table and I'll take it last. So people can offer initial comments, and then if we need to have discussion, we can do that too. Peter?
I think that latest map, D2B, is a good map. It has taken into account various comments. It is clearly visible, at least now it is to me, using an hard paper map. And I hope that we can accept this map as the final map.
Thank you, Peter. Catherine?
I want to go on record as thanking Bob for his well thought out statement. I think given Bill's statements earlier, I am hopeful that this community can stick together for the good of our community district on voting for this. But in fact, I was listening to an interesting discussion the other day, and it said that all it takes is 8% of the voting public to make enough social change. You completely change a society.
That's the
And
upside.
this was done by folks who have been working in this endeavor on national levels in other countries for a long time. And so this was their study. I think whoever eventually gets on this board, and I think this board and this district are a part of the community, and hopefully we can continue the traditions, and the traditions will continue to make this a part of as community centric. And I think that's the key to all of it. I will say that when I came in tonight, it was more like a group of friends getting together. I go to other board meetings. I've gone to lots of other council meetings or board meetings. They don't start out the same way these do.
Good.
And to the community who's watching this later, please come down. We miss you. And please come to our party. I think, and I will say that I agree with Peter. I think that what we were trying to do with the previous maps, I was not comfortable with, and I think we've come up with a good solution. And so I'm looking forward to voting for this map and for this voting schedule. And yeah, Sid, you're going to be the last person to have to run district-wide. And it's going to be confusing for the voters too.
It's confusing for me.
But that's what change is. I will say that when the state changed the voting years from odd to even, all of a sudden, every single board member on this board got an extra year. So some of us got 5 years of election. But things change, and this district will cope and will come out better for it. And please come to our party. Oh, and Clemens, I would like to see our district maps as 5 maps up in good size for the celebration, so that everybody who attends can see what's coming. And we also will need to have those on our website anyway, so it's just as easy to print them, frame them, and put them up. You are in this district. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, good.
I'm, as I said, I'm deeply disappointed that I can't make my decisions based on even reading the names of the streets which are part of the borders. I'm trying to figure out if my friends who have a well are in District 1 or in my district. I can't tell. So I still would like to have paper. I would like a colored piece of paper. Color printer paper is not that big a waste for 5 district offices. So at some point I want that, if only as a token, but from what I can see on this, this looks like an utterly reasonable map. It looks like it's accomplishing all of the things we wanted. It's far better than any of the original ones. So based on what little I can get by a laptop that skitters under my fingertips, and I can't really read, based on that, this looks amazing. And I think I'm in.
All right, thank you, Bill. Sid?
Well, I was a little disappointed because when I was requesting that they draw the map along the creek, and I anticipated that the line would be Audubon and that could connect with Moss Beach Heights, and it doesn't. So what my question is, what happens with let's say, a district that doesn't get any director want to run for it?
No, I think I can answer that one.
Okay.
If no one stands, then the seat, the filling of that seat comes first to this board to appoint. And if this board fails to appoint, then it will go to the county supervisors for them to appoint. And the habit of this district has been to keep the local control local.
Mhm.
And so we've stepped up to that, and we've been blessed with people who have stepped forward. Peter is one such who stepped up for a vacancy.
That's it.
And at that time, there were several people who stepped up. And I remember going into the meeting, being concerned that maybe no one would step up. And then I think we had 3 or 4 people. And then we had the hard job of like trying to pick somebody. And that's no fun because you're telling most of the people no. And but as it turns out, sometimes someone we say no to once, we say yes to the next time. And that's how I got on the board. I got a no first and a yes the second go around. So I hope that's an answer to your question.
Well, but they would have to live in the newly
Yeah,
drawn district. That's the question. We can't just appoint someone.
I don't believe we would have that option. I think
I don't either,
the
but,
district seat would have to be filled with someone who's qualified, and that would be limited to the district.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Do you have anything further?
No, that whole Florida piece got added into a different
Yeah.
section, but I didn't realize it until I looked at this map when it was published. It's too late.
Yeah, well, I'll go to my comment now, and I wish I'd had more time to play with the online tools to try to draw some maps, but I think we went through a few iterations. I was really pleased with a lot of the back and forth that we had, with some of the public participation. I think that interaction helped land it somewhere better. I am going to say to anyone who's coming to this fresh, and you look at these maps and you go, some of these boundaries look really strange. Why? Well, what you don't see here is we had to do it from puzzle pieces that are defined by the US Census blocks. And some of the US Census blocks are a bit nutty. So like if you look at Fitzgerald, you see this stem of District 5 coming down California and some of the neighboring streets, but then wrapped around it, you see what's in District 4. And so we've got to fit it together with these puzzle pieces, but these puzzle pieces have census counts in them. And when Clemens talked about the deviation, each block has to be about the same number of people as any other block, and we can only do it with the puzzle pieces. So we're sitting here trying to solve this puzzle while what we're all thinking about is, let's try to keep communities together. So if you live in Los Beach Heights, you and your neighbors, you know the people in your district, and you know you share a lot of interests. And we're trying to solve that problem, but then we realized we had these weird census block pieces, some of which look like horseshoes, which would never make sense in trying to build a district, but they didn't make the census blocks to make voting districts. And the California Voting Rights Act, which is very well intentioned, landed on census blocks and said, figure it out. And so that's what we've done. And one of the strengths of this district has long been to take some of the weird or difficult to comply with things that we get from the state, from the county, from the federal government. We just have to figure it out. And some things aren't fair, but it's our job to get somewhere with it. And that's what we've done. And I think this is the time when you look at the maps and you look at the districts, be thinking about who in that district is civic minded and would serve well, and start thinking about it now. And we're always looking for volunteers to help out on committees and with other activities. And if you're interested in that, you happen to be watching either the recording or live. Maybe you're working for PCT and you know someone who might be one of those people. This is a good thing to think about. Many people who have sat on this board have volunteered to help out long before they sat on the board. We find people, if they're interested, it often builds into something where it becomes like an official piece of civic duty, which is a very worthy thing for anyone to engage in. So with that, I don't love these districts, and I sure don't love how the California Voting Rights has enacted a very well-meaning and important goal in terms of regulations that work very poorly for small districts. And I appreciate Bob's eloquent public testimony. He captures a lot of our concerns, and it's with a lot of disappointment in how that law is written and the tools that we have to use. Because I think if the law was written better, we'd be able to better achieve the goals of the California Voting Rights Act. But we got to make do with what we got. So let's go to discussion, but I hope we can get through it quickly. Catherine?
I just wanted to thank Clemens and the consultants who, under difficult circumstances, given the teeny size of this district, the badly written laws that we're working under, and all of that stuff, I believe that what we have are consolidated, concise districts. And I think they did an excellent job. And so I do want to thank all of them for their hard work on this. Again, we didn't have a choice about it, we didn't even get to put population together in such a way. We had to deal with these, as you said, accurately said, these weird puzzle pieces. And it was like trying to put a puzzle together with odd-shaped pieces. And so that's where we're at. And this district will move forward, and we will champion this and be a great district because we have lots of other things to work on. And so this is gonna get done.
All right.
That was a wonderful summary of the situation and challenges. And I think Catherine's right. I think we dodged this one. I think this is going to be something which will work going forward, which I was not sure of, but that's my impression.
Well, inspired by Bob's eloquent testimony, really seriously, if you know someone who's civic minded and might serve, talk to them now, get them thinking. And if anyone's interested, we've got a bunch of materials on the website, some presentations about what it's like to run and what that whole process is like. But I believe most of us would be open. If you want to reach out to us, we can certainly share some experiences and offer some thoughts on stepping into public service. Okay, we've had the public hearing. We've had some board discussion. The recommendation is to adopt the resolution before us. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So
Seconded.
Catherine moved, Peter seconded. This is it's a resolution, but let's do a roll call. Director Decker.
Aye.
Director Slater-Carter.
Yes.
Director Saltzman.
Aye.
Director Young.
Aye.
Director Boyd votes aye. So by 5-0, the motion passes and the resolution is adopted. So we will begin with the proposed election sequence in the agenda, with the even districts first in 24 and the odd districts in 2026. And if you have questions about it, come on the 9th to our celebration and we can probably answer a question or two. For as many as you have, we'll be here. Okay, let's see. Let's go now to new business. Item 1, review and possible action concerning adoption of the appropriations limit for fiscal year 2023-2024.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. The appropriations limit is one of those standard items that we have to deal with every year. There's Article 13B of the California State Constitution that essentially looks at how much tax proceeds each district can spend, or requires us to look at how much tax proceeds we actually can spend, meaning there's a limit that looks through a calculation at our various income sources and then determines how much we actually can receive and spend in tax proceeds. as you probably know, we're receiving around $600,000 in taxes. And the appropriations limit for this fiscal year is $2.88 million. So we're far away from this. We are recommending to adopt the resolution of the Montara Water and Sanitary District determining the 23-24 appropriations limit. I want to thank Peter Medina for preparing this, doing the math. If there's any questions, he's available. Thank you.
Do we have any public comment? Any questions? Sid?
Oh, she had a
Catherine?
question.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just would like Peter to talk about what we would never even be close as a district to getting $2 million in tax money. And for a number of reasons. One is because property taxes are only allocated to districts that were formed before Prop 13, which was, I think, 1973. So since our water district was formed in 2003, we have no opportunity to even have any benefit of public tax dollars. We are an enterprise district, and we are the state and the county would love to strip enterprise districts of any allocation of property tax dollars. Their attitude is service users should pay for it out of their own pocket and not out of their property taxes. But the other thing that happens is we lose a portion of our property tax allocations that come to this from the pre-existing sewer district. In saying it existed prior to Prop 13, because the state decided to do the ERAP, which is the education revenue augmentation fund.
Almost, yeah.
Something like that. And so a significant portion of the money that should be coming to help underwrite the water, the sewer and the water here goes to the school district. And Peter, what percentage of our potential of what we would be receiving gets taken away before we even see it?
We're not provided that information from the county as far as what portion is collected to then transfer off to the school districts. The remittance advice and the information that we get from the county beforehand does not, I guess you say, gross up what the entire amount is and then, give us our portion. I don't believe that we're privy to that information.
I'm watching for a hand to see if Greg wants to raise his hand to talk about this. Maybe not.
Meanwhile, can someone remind me what we're deciding? I sort of got
But this is the GAN.
God, I'm sorry.
He just.
Oh, I see Greg's hand. So
Can
Peter
you remind me what you want me to comment on here? I'm
Yes.
sorry, I was busy.
Yes. Catherine was asking Peter about how much of the tax revenue the county collects that doesn't make it our way. And I know this is a topic near and dear to your heart. I don't know if you have anything current to share, or if you just want to talk about what we might learn.
Well, we did write the county asking for a flow of funds analysis. As far as I know, it's the first time it's been asked for. We do not have the result. They said 45 days from the request, so that's about another month from now. I'm expecting that we generate somewhere between $25 and $50 million in tax revenue to the county, exclusive of encumbered things like the school and the CCAG fees and any Montara sewer fees, et cetera. But we'll see. And we are going to analyze this. It's part of what I hope to achieve in creating a sort of a budget for the Mid-Coast. And it also is partly a response to the request we get to prioritize our requests. And my reply to that is prioritize within what dollar amount? Because I don't just want to give people a list of, we'll settle for these three things. I mean, I'm happy to settle for $25 million. That would be my approach.
All right, thank you, Greg. So to your question, Bill, the basic thing is we're required by state law to compute what's called an appropriations limit. It's called the GAN. I think that was the name of the person who carried the bill. So we're required to do it. Peter has done the work with Clemens to determine what that limit would be and has determined that we are well under that limit, but we have to adopt their work as our answer as required by the state law.
Okay, so it prevents us from having to do more work or jump through more hoops by proving that we aren't of the hoop jumping variety.
No, it's to comply with state law.
Yes, okay.
Sid?
So I think what Greg's quest is, we pay property taxes to the county based on the ad valorem of every property in the district that's taxable, not like county entities or state entities like Caltrans right away probably doesn't have an ad valorem, that sort of thing. But when you get your property tax bill, cities get back 17% of their ad valorem, but we don't, the unincorporated area gets back nothing. And that percentage that they divvy up changes every year. But I'm not sure if that's the same as this. When you say that they calculate out certain amounts for districts, I think there's a thing, if you look at that property tax insert that comes with your property tax bill, it does say that X amount goes to special districts too. But that might just be the county special districts, because I noticed when I go to the Board of Supervisors meeting that they have a lot of sewer districts within their purview. So I don't think we're getting our fair share, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. Well, back to the item in front of us. And just one correction, we do get a small portion of tax money coming our way. But if you look at us and, for example, Granada Community Services District, they get a larger percentage. There's a lot of historical reason for the differences, but to Greg's point, there's not been a lot of transparency about how much flows that way and how much flows this way, and it'll be interesting to see what he comes up with. Clemens?
I want to just go into what Peter said. First, I thought that is correct, that we probably don't get the information, but what we actually get from Sanitary County is the assessed valuation of all properties within the district. And so obviously, this is a percentage of that. I believe it should be actually the 1% of that, but or 0.1%, but I'm not quite certain.
The county collects the 1%.
Yes,
They give back to
correct.
cities 17%, nothing to unincorporated.
So it's a share.
No, Sid. We get some money.
Okay, but they don't give back the 17%.
Oh, no.
That's what I
But it's not correct to say we get nothing.
Right.
But historically it's been very small, and
Right.
for many years it was cut in half. So
because of the ERAF.
But for budgeting purposes, we are not assuming that we get the ERAF every
Right,
year.
right.
It may be taken away one day,
Yeah.
which is why very conservatively in our budget, we leave it out.
right. And we know that in many years they have cut it in half, and they've made a lot of noise about. Anyway, okay. So with that, can I have a motion and a second for the resolution in front of us?
Move to adopt.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, so thank you, Bill. Thank you, Peter. The motion is to adopt the resolution next in order, resolution of the Montara Water Sanitary District determining the 2023-2024 appropriation limit. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you. This always takes a little bit of time whenever anybody joins the board, but it's worth it because next year when it comes around, you go, oh, this thing.
Oh,
again.
this.
Yeah. And honestly, it's good to have accountability mechanisms. And one thing it shows here is we're not pushing up against that limit, but you know why it was instituted. There were definitely organizations that were pushing or exceeding the limit. Okay, let's move to the next item, review and possible action concerning employee wellness program.
Thanks, Scott. Yeah, so we have a program in place, a wellness program in place for our full-time employees that essentially allows every $25 for every employee monthly towards a health or fitness expenditure of their choice. That's, of course, after the proper documentation by the employee was provided. We have been in the past receiving a wellness grant from the Association of California Water Agencies Joint Powers Insurance Authority. And we did so again this year. We received a grant of $320. And now we are asking to utilize this grant and supplement this with district money and essentially authorize a program that we have this usually from September to September each year, where the employees or full-time employees are allowed to participate. And if all employees participate every month and ask for the full monthly reimbursement, the annual cost to the district would be $2,400. This year, the MWSD employees used to date so far $806 and some cents. So the recommendation is to authorize up to $2,400 of district funds for contributions to MWSD full-time employees' participation in wellness activities of $25 per month per employee after proof of payment by the employee. I want to thank Tracy for applying for the grant, getting the grant, and putting this all together and managing the program as well. Thank you, Tracy.
All right, thank you. Bill first.
So just how, so if it's, so for right now we have $25 per employee per month. How much roughly will be the allowance after this is adopted? $50 per employee per month? 60?
I'm sorry, after what?
You quoted that, I thought you said at the moment we have $25 per employee per month in a wellness program. I thought that was the answer. Okay.
And I say at the moment because the board authorized last year for the program to be established from September 22 to September 23 or August 23.
Yes.
So now we're asking.
The new thing will be more than $25 a month, right?
No,
also 25.
It's in the recommendation, and it says authorize up to $2,400 of district funds for contributions to MWSD full-time employees' participation in wellness activities of $25 per month per employee after proof of payment by the employer.
Oh, okay. Sorry, they're part of the same. Got it.
Sid?
So could you describe what the wellness thing would be? Because you only, some people took advantage of it. If you're only spent $800 out of the allocated $2,400, is that like some people didn't want to go to the gym or?
That's correct.
I see.
Yes. It doesn't have to be a gym, but
What,
yes,
what would some of the other examples be?
anything wellness related.
So smoking cessation program or?
There's a specific list that
I see. It's not here though. Okay.
that the grant, essentially the grant looks at that as well. So it's a specific list of what can be done. It's pretty broad.
Okay. Oh, I see.
There were some changes this year. I think supplements are not allowed anymore, something like that. But yeah.
So there's actually a list of the guidelines.
I see it
It's the
now.
very last page of the.
Right. I didn't see that.
Oh, it's in there?
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, I'd like to thank Clemens and Tracy and everyone on staff. This is good. I'm glad we can do this. I'm fully supportive of this, and I'm glad to see people taking advantage of it. And want to make sure we keep this going. Does anyone have any further discussion, or are we ready for a motion?
Just hope more people do it.
Okay. All right, Catherine and Peter. So
Yeah.
it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay, so it carries unanimously. Thank you, everyone, and thank you especially MWSD team. All right, we do have, we can go to reports and then we'll go to closed session. So Sewer Authority, anything, Catherine?
I'm gonna let Peter speak to that. Our meeting on Monday, we moved to bring a budget, the SEM budget amendment to the districts, which will be on our agenda next, but I think Peter will speak to it more eloquently than I.
There was discussion about the pricing for a primary digester. And when we then looked at the quote from the supplier, it turned out that a certain number of items had not been included and specifically excluded in the offer. So we wanted to have an idea of what those costs would be and how much would have to be added to the $159,960 in order to arrive at the full amount necessary for the project. And then we did the same thing with a quote for the Princeton pump station of $259,3415. That's $2.5 million. And again, we asked, are there any items like engineering or electricity that are not included in this quote or in this total price? And it turned out they were. It's just that these numbers changed from before to the time that the presentation was made. So it became clear, therefore, that in order to include both items fully, including the accessory charges, we would need to change the budget. So consequently, a new budget was released by Keishan a day later that included the amount necessary to take in these two items. And then at today's meeting, a finance committee meeting at SAM, we discussed in detail as to how we could get a better grip on our CIP, respectively, infrastructure charges. Many of the charges that were mentioned in the list that we had, that only goes for a year, were based on approvals given previously by the board for acceptance of the item. But were not based on what the item costs today, now that we are late in implementing the actual purchase. So I think the upshot of that finance committee meeting today was that we would work on that list and make it more realistic and use as an example the list that was submitted in 2017 for a 5-year period and exclude any surprises going down the road and inform all the member agencies about the necessity to provide for sufficient funds to make their contributions so that it would meet the infrastructure requirements.
Thank you. And thank you for catching that. And I just want to emphasize just kind of a law of how it works with funding projects in a public agency. Anything that delays the work increases the cost of the work. It would be very interesting, and I'm sure you'll have this, because this work was delayed, how much more did it cost us? That would be.
I have a few examples just for interest's sake. To replace bar screen drives and screens in 2021 was budgeted at $216,320. The actual is $494,626.
So more than double in 2 years.
We had more examples of exactly those kind of situations. Going back to the infrastructure plan from March 2017, where we had a number of items that more than tripled in cost.
So
including, by the way, the Princeton pump station, which went from $700,000 to $2.5 million.
So just to put a point on it, to really emphasize the point, when someone like Half Moon Bay delays a budget or delays a project, it increases the cost, and this evidence shows that it's increasing the cost radically.
This list that I have here in front of me, the March 2017 5-year CIP list, shows very clearly what the priority should be. This is a 63-page item. And the priority should have been that this Princeton pump station was renewed in 2017. Number one priority.
Yes.
I remember, you see my name on the cover sheet along with the other directors. I was there in 2017 and fully expected that this work, being clearly identified as necessary, would be done in a timely manner.
Yeah.
And 6 years later, that it's not done is, I want the public to understand how concerning this is. when member agencies such as Half Moon Bay throw a spanner in the works, drag their feet, sue, and otherwise stall and delay necessary projects. There's nothing fancy or wasteful about replacing the bar screen. This is part of how a sewer plant works. And when it wears out, you got to replace it, or you're not doing a good job in the plant. This is mundane, ordinary business. The Princeton pump station, again, this is the basic internal organs of this system, and we're not taking care of it. And we got people delaying these projects, and that's driving the cost up, and not just a little, a lot. And so when they complain about the cost to operate this whole thing, the people jacking the price up through the delay are the very people complaining about the cost. And it should be really clear to members of the public. Let's hold a mirror up and say, I wonder how that cost keeps going up. This is something that we need to be super clear on. So I saw Clemens first, and then I saw Catherine, and then I saw Bill. So let's do it in that order.
Scott, thank you very much for this very important comment. This is what I've been observing since a very long time at the Sewer Authority Mid-Coast site. And I want to make it clear that SAM staff has every year presented drafts, infrastructure programs with the Princeton pump station included. And every single year, some member agencies objected
Not
to
us.
the project, not
Not
us.
us.
Correct.
Yeah, no, this is the time. Now that we've got some good concrete numbers, thank you so much for digging into this. This is the kind of I don't know. This is the kind of stewardship that I hope that members of the public want from their electeds. And I'm sorry, Bill.
That's what Kathleen said, is that?
Sure. Thank you.
I will add that other agencies at SAM are continually surprised, shocked and amazed when we get these capital improvement projects. And want to go down into the line items and into the finer points of the accounting, seeking to cut the cost. 3.5 years ago, Sam paid, it might have been starting 4.5 years ago, it was pre-COVID, $1 million to a consultant to do a overall capital improvement look at the SAM system. It was an outrageous price. Half Moon Bay supported it. I was hoping it would bring, I supported it because I was hoping it would bring, and the constant surprise for the other agencies. The cost estimate then, and this was Dan Childs, you can look it up,
I remember.
was $40 to $60 million. Now costs have gone up 30% since then. So now you're looking at $55 to $80 million that will have to be paid for the plant to keep functioning at 2021 and current contemporary environmental standards. This is why we need to keep thinking about alternatives. But in the meantime, we need to keep this Princeton pump station has been a life-threatening hazard for our crew. For what, 20 years, Scott? Actually, since it was built. And it has needed to be fixed and replaced. So with the help of the public, we need to keep working on this, and I think Peter's idea of looking at asking for everything to be brought into contemporary dollars every year makes sense. I was just looking at the numbers for the Parker District and some of these projects that have been put off. But what happens is a project gets postponed. people, they start working on it, people work on it, this is just in general. You start, and then you come up with ideas, and then it gets postponed, and you get more good ideas. And I'm not saying they're value added ideas, but they're also cost added ideas. And then the regulatory agencies get involved in things. And all of a sudden, costs add up. And that's how we're getting into the tripling and quadrupling of initial estimates. It's not due to bad management at the agencies, nor is it due to bad management by the board. Oftentimes, these things just have to be changed. I was something that we've all had to deal with is a leaky faucet. And so the washer costs, 20 cents. So you're going to put in a new washer. Well, you open it up and you discover that the faucet's worn out on the inside. So you need to replace the faucet. So you've gone from a 20-cent item to a $75 item. It's a work. You don't want to spend the 20 cents and your time to stop the leak when it's going to be breaking sooner. That's how these kinds of things work. So it's I wouldn't call it a fault, but it is it's important to be aware of why these costs are building up.
Thanks, Peter. That is a wonderfully succinct outline of the nature of the problem that we've been talking about for, I guess, as long as I've been here, probably 2 decades before that. But as I see it, the problem is a twin dysfunctionality, and there are kind of two approaches. So the twin dysfunctionality is, first of all, we shouldn't be pumping sewage all the way to Half-Moon. That is just technically a wrong solution, which was imposed on us ages ago, and any sane system will not have it because sewage is harder to pump than water. I mean, literally, it would be easier to pump water that far than to pump sewage that far, and you don't worry if it leaks as much. You don't get fined for leaks the same way. So, the very infrastructure we're defending is a problem, but now it sounds like we're being asked to spend millions of dollars to replace part of that same dysfunctional infrastructure. I mean, paying a lot of money to renew some new equipment to do something that shouldn't be done in the first place. So it seems to me that we ought to, on some agenda item somehow, in a few months' time or whenever the numbers can percolate up, have a rough understanding of how much money it is going to cost over, say, 20 years to keep moving sewage from here to there. That just the pumping portion, not the sand plant portion, just how much does it cost to build the infrastructure and maintain the infrastructure of pumping versus head-to-head the brand new technology of local sewage treatment, which is way better than it was 50 years ago when this decision was made. So now that there is really good sewage treatment technology of all kinds, we ought to at least know how much it costs, what it does, and whether it might be a viable alternative to $10 million of pumps doing something we don't want to do.
We have looked a little bit into those options.
Okay, I'd love to hear the results.
Of new plants. And the results were that with our size, to build our own sewage plant is out of the question. It's way too expensive for us.
And when was that?
That was 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Well, the data's old, so it's time to refresh it.
Anyhow, I want to end this on a positive note. We had today the finance committee meeting, and we had Deborah Ruddock representing Half Moon Bay. We had Barbara Dye representing Aguinaldo District. And the three of us agreed that we would have that look at that CIP number, that more accurate number, and then bring forth to all of our companies to make them aware of the fact how much we need in the future years, so as to make the budget process easier and to make it more accurate and to make it acceptable to the parties involved in SAM. So I am optimistic, and I remain optimistic that we get this done and that we get the knowledge and awareness over to the participants in SAM that allow us to take in the amount that is necessary to keep the plant running.
All right, thanks. Sid?
Okay, so I just want to clarify, and I could be wrong, but I took the tour of the sewer plant with Tim, and he explained to me that they basically bill all the different districts based on flow. And that Half Moon Bay's been running about 60%, whereas the rest of us are, 20 or whatever. 2020, let's say, just for round numbers. So my understanding is the more we increase capacity in Half Moon Bay, then they're going to be even paying more than 60% unless something changes, if I'm not mistaken.
Depends on the lawsuit.
What?
Depends on the lawsuit.
Okay, so I haven't read the lawsuit, but they have planned 47 units of farm worker mobile home housing on the 880 Stone Pine. And the county just purchased the old Bay Cities nursery property, and that's probably going to be a huge amount of affordable housing. And I think when I researched the Mid-Penn, what's it called? Moonridge, that's 160 residences. Some of them are 4 bedrooms, so that's a lot of flushing and showering. So my question is as their capacity keeps going up because of their growth, are they going to still complain every time a district like Montara has a little pipe burst, or the pump station in El Granada still needs to have more parts? I mean, I don't understand if we can't throttle their capacity because they don't want to pay their fair share, or how does it work? Does anyone want to explain it?
You want us to explain why they're suing to get out of a contract that they performed to for over 45
No, I
years?
realize they're doing that because they're cheap and they've started getting more capacity
So I'm not
built.
sure what you want us to explain.
Okay, well, I guess for me, Tim said that the way they determine that 60% is there's no flow meter in Half Moon Bay. They just take our flow and subtract.
We have a mechanism. That's what we use.
Mhm.
We've checked it many, many times and considered other ways to do it, but that is the way that it's currently being done. And their numbers are slowly but steadily increasing over time. And yes, they're over 60%.
But they might even be more soon.
It doesn't matter what their number is, that it's, you pay by the share, based on your flow.
Yeah, okay.
And let me add that Sam has tried under Scott, under Rick, under Bob, to get a Sam maintained and calibrated flow meter in Half Moon Bay, and Half Moon Bay has refused.
Because they didn't want to pay, or they didn't want to have it be accurate.
I don't think they spend a lot of time explaining that. All they have to do is vote no.
Yeah, okay. thank you.
They voted no, and then they installed their own meters. So it wasn't the expense. It wasn't because they didn't want to pay for meters. It was what they voted no on was Sam having a meter. So draw from that what you will. I don't believe they offered a lot of rationale one way or the other. With that said, how about we go on to the next item? Midcoast Community Council. Greg, you've been very patient.
Yeah, I was enjoying the discussion, seeing people come up to speed on these issues. Peter, I want to thank you for your diligence and perseverance, and of course, Catherine and Scott, who've been at this. The idea of getting them to start to look at the current replenishment cost of those assets is a critical one, and couldn't endorse it more. I already mentioned we have some new sewer capacity going to be demanded for Cypress Point, and then a hotel in Montara that I just saw today. We're going to try and get an extension on the review, but that should be headed your way if it hasn't already, because they say by September 1st they want the comments on that. I wanted to mention that you heard about the Middle Mile Broadband Initiative and our attempt to get a community fiber network here on the coast. I discovered on October 4th, talking to the National Telecommunications Administration, we found out that the state had changed the map and withdrawn the coast side from the Middle Mile Broadband Initiative, which led me to talk to the staffs of Assemblyman Berman, Senator Becker, and Representative Eshoo. And within a week or so, we had a letter signed by all of them and a bunch of other agencies going to Governor Newsom to try and restore the Middle Mile Broadband Initiative for our area. I just finished an article on that in Coastside Buzz today. The complication is it probably prevents us from getting any of the grant funding to form our network, which is being rapidly grabbed by Kern County and dozens of other smaller jurisdictions throughout the state. So it's a big deal. My pitch is that because of our vulnerability to the variety of natural disaster hazards we have out here, we deserve extra consideration. On the MCC agenda coming up, we have designs of a Moss Beach road improvement. There's some irregularities apparently in the scheduling and review process, so we're going to reconsider that. We have a continuing issue with off-leash dogs in Quarry Park, which some people are interested in. That will be coming up again. And then we have the problem where Montara Mountain was ravaged by the emergency road repairs. There's so much information that we're trying to gather on that we have delayed until we can make a definitive statement, but there's perhaps 50 or 100 pages of stuff plus 1,000 photos. Those are just some of the issues we're dealing with, and I'm happy to take any questions.
All right, thank you, Greg. Not seeing any?
I may have a quick question. Is the Midcoast Council going to be reviewing this new house on the west side of the highway that the story poles are up for? And the hotel, and are you going to be able to make those meetings accessible to the public?
I'm not sure I understand the last part of the question, but I believe we already have commented on that house. I will confirm with Claire, who does the plan review. And certainly we are going to be submitting comments on the EIR for Cypress Point and for the hotel. It's just that we're so overwhelmed with other stuff that I'm going to ask for an extra month to do it. The last part of your question, you were talking about making meetings accessible. We will agenda.
These particular reviews, yes.
Well, I don't know if we're going to agendize the house that you talked about. We're certainly going to agendize the hotel in Cypress Point. Let me get back to you on what's going on with the house and the story poles.
Thank you.
Bill?
You mentioned a new hotel in Montara where they need comments by September 1. This is horrifying. I remember 3 years ago during COVID, there was a hearing about somebody who wanted to make a hotel. And I tried desperately to find out why Montara needed a hotel, because that's not the obviously best use of that parcel. But if that's the hotel going through, I'm shocked that I haven't heard about it, especially since presumably it would require water and sewer hookups.
Should I forward to MWSD the plan referral I got? I would encourage you as individuals, not only as board members, to submit comments immediately to planning, requesting an extension of time to comment, because that will help our case. It'll also preserve your standing to be involved in any appeals.
Please.
All right, I will send that right after the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
Sid, and then we're going to go to Michelle after
Oh,
Sid.
sorry. This is just brief, but as far as your middle mile initiative goes, I just wanted to bring up that I saw so many similarities with Lahaina that happened recently with their big fire, and maybe our district has similar issues, with lack of connectivity to cell phone, and obviously the emergency alert didn't go out, and ours are usually delayed, but we also, I think they had a problem with their infrastructure with the water, and they were running out of water as they were trying to put out the fires. So I don't know if that's something we want to agendize for later to see what our emergency plan is, but it would be something worth thinking about.
Well, what you're touching on, Sid, obviously, if you read the article and you read the letter, we've covered those issues, but it helps to have backup. I know that Kishin and the SAM board are going to be considering a letter supporting the restoration of the middle mile broadband initiative for our area. It would help to have Montara Water and Sanitary District also issue its own letter, and I'll be glad to help coordinating. You could submit them individually to the representatives I mentioned. Do you have a copy of the letter that, as Representative Eshu sent? Was that sent to your district?
Clemens might know.
I'm not aware of a letter from an issues office.
All right, so let me just take a note here. There's two things I'm going to send you. I'm going to send you the hotel referral, and I'm going to send you the a letter on the middle mile broadband initiative right after the meeting.
Oh, and also, did they say why we weren't included?
No, and they didn't tell anybody that I could find. They just
All
changed
right.
it.
Michelle, and then we'll go to Bill.
Yeah, what hotel? Please read. It pisses me off that here I am, Buzz, and I don't know about this hotel. So can you please inform me, Greg?
You need to be in touch with somebody who really knows the news better, Michelle.
You're so funny.
All right, I'll copy you on it too.
Are they on the
Thank
website, MCC?
They talked about the hotel over a year ago. I remember attending a session on this.
Claire puts those up on the MCC website. The referrals that you guys get, like the Mark Zuckerberg property and the hotel.
Hadn't thought of that
Just
because they're on the
asking.
planning website.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bill?
About the hotel, Greg, you mentioned at the very tail end of some comment that if we file something by September 1, we can extend the deadline and things like that.
No,
No,
Well,
you can
well-
extend your standing. You can
That's
file a
it, that's it.
standing.
Something can happen.
Let me put it in simple terms. If you wish to participate in any kind of appeal, you have to say something now.
Yes.
If you don't have standing to.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing I'm talking about. And it was moving toward, we don't have any more meetings between now and then. So if this thing is to happen and we preserve our standing.
No. This agency wouldn't be participating in that. Individuals. This agency at some point may receive a permit application, at which point we'll engage in the normal permit application process, and information will then come in front of the board. That's a right and proper process. Many times, for example, with Big Wave, people wanted us to get involved on this and that, and we had never seen an application for any building. The time that we get engaged is at the point that applications come into the process. On things like EIRs, we do comment on because we need to speak to the availability or not of the resources that they might need.
I've been under the impression that there are some planned housing projects, and we've been discussing whether we like to have them because they will, for instance, increase sewage demand above what we have capacity for. So I thought we were already participating in deciding whether we liked new proposals.
So San Mateo County sends for all projects, it's called a referral. That's what Greg is referring to. We are copied into, we are commenting on all projects within Montara Water and Sanitary District that affect water and sewer.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Now, I don't recall getting a referral for the hotel, Greg, so I'm looking forward to seeing that and looking into this. Okay. But we're getting for everything. Your staff is commenting from the district's perspective on every construction project.
Okay.
Again, that affects water and sewer.
Okay, good.
Did we get one for the Zuckerberg property?
Yes.
And was in the board package recently, or with it
They
whenever we
will,
got it?
this is staff work. We're not
Oh, so
putting
we
those.
don't know about it then. Okay.
And that was a long time ago.
Yeah, before me, probably.
All right.
Thank you.
Does Michelle still have her hand up?
Michelle, did you have anything?
Yeah, sorry to bother. I found the post. It's called the Aaron Hotel, and it was on your agenda. I forgot the name of the hotel. It's AARON. So if you want to look at the planning document, it's right there.
What month?
Oh, your chat's not open, so I'll send you it by text, Sid. Okay.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome.
Looks maybe. No, I don't know. I don't know if my head is right.
Maybe it was when Rick was still here. I don't remember it.
Something. Well, look, we'll track it down. Let's move on. We still have a good bit to do. CSDA or LAFCO, Cap?
There is, LAFCO will be coming out next month. Nothing happened at the last month. There's stuff going on mostly that concerns special districts having to do with the the little police force in Daly City that Daly City's been chewing up that district. Broadmoor,
not Daly City.
for a long time, and the other is the East Palo Alto sewer district and what's going to happen with that, and that was postponed. You can go to the LAFCO website and read the staff reports. The CSDA is having a conference in Monterey week after next. And so I'll let you know what, if anything interesting goes on there.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask, gosh, Catherine, a quick question
Quickly.
about LAFCO? I remember a long time ago when the MCC used to meet at the Seton Hospital, so that was decades ago, I think.
Just quickly.
We had a municipal services review. And that this happens about every 10 years or something.
It's supposed to happen every 5 years.
But we haven't had one since then that I recall, have we?
Well, I was gonna finish.
Oh, sorry.
The LAFCO doesn't really have the money to do them. They're doing a municipal services review on the Harbor District in the near future. And they will let the coast side know when it's going to happen for the coast side, but it's not on any schedule.
Okay.
Okay. Let's move on to attorney's report. Christine, do you have anything?
No.
Thank you. Any director's reports? No. General manager's report, Clemens.
I want to thank our operators who are currently out working on a leak
Where's the leak?
in the Seal Cove area. I don't know exactly where.
Thought I saw a puddle at Highway 1. Thank you.
All right.
Those.
Okay, so we've got let's see, we do have some items for closed session. We have reached the end of our public portion, but let me tell you about the closed session. We've got one case of existing litigation, Half Moon Bay suing its neighbors. We have two potential cases of anticipated litigation. We have public employee performance evaluation and conference labor negotiators with respect to our general manager. If we take any action, we'll report out after closed session. I'd like to thank everyone for joining in and participating tonight, and we are in recess for 10 minutes.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Night.
Thank
Good
you
night.
for being here, Michelle.